What's up, everybody? This is a special edition of The Fake Philosophers. Eddie and I are just zooming, chatting.
Chilling.
We recorded this Veterans Day, Thursday night. I'm not sure when we're going to post this one. But Eddie, let's just jump into it. As of Thursday, November 11th, Kyle Rittenhouse, there has not been a verdict. There's still the trial. Everyone's sharing opinions. Everyone's sharing their thoughts. And we thought we would just kind of off the cuff, two non-experts, two people. I have not been watching the trial that much. But we're gonna speak about it. We're gonna talk about it from a place of somewhat
fake
ignorant.
Philosophers. It's like
exactly,
we can have our opinion, and it's depending on what newscasts we write. So let's see, when did this happen? This was August
Last year?
of 2020, August 25th, 2020, where he was armed with an AR-15 rifle, and this is in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He killed Joseph Rosenbaum, who was 36, and Anthony Huber, who was 26, and injured Gage Grosskreutz. His charges include 3 homicide-related charges: first-degree reckless homicide for killing Rosenbaum, first-degree intentional homicide for killing Huber, and first-degree attempted intentional homicide for shooting Grosskreutz. So those seem pretty precise charges. And if you haven't seen the video, I don't know the context. What I do know is that there's somebody running down the street with a weapon, and that people try to accost this person with a weapon. They don't know if it's loaded. They don't know if this person's sane. They have no context. And they thought it was a good idea to go up to this person and accost this person with this weapon because they were in a mob.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what was going on. And yes, the gun was loaded. And whether he was, if we could only take for his word that he felt like he was in fear for his life.
Yeah.
And then used that weapon for his argument in defense as a defensive posture. And if you're prosecuting, it wasn't defensive, it was offensive. So
yeah, and that's where, like, this one in particular, so I know there's a lot of people, a lot of conservatives just jump to the whole thing like, no, it's obviously self-defense. And a lot of the more liberal left-wing are like, no, he went there with a fucking purpose. He wanted to kill people. And it really is, in my opinion, more complicated than that. So a guy I listen to on YouTube, he's very left-leaning, but I like listening to him. Even when I disagree with him, he brings forward a lot of facts, and he's actually very intelligent. Anyway, he brought the idea of, like, he's like, Kyle Rittenhouse will probably get off on this wording. Can't get off the charge. Sorry, I just get off on it. No, he'll probably get off the charge because in that moment, legally, yes, you could tell even in the video. You talk about the semantics of it, but, like, yeah, he was clearly defending himself in the video. I don't think there's a real argument about that. My big issue is, like you said, what person attacks somebody or tries to charge somebody with a weapon? The smart thing to do is to try to hide, or in this weird hypothetical, if you have a weapon, take cover, take aim. If you think it's a shooter, shoot, whatever. So I agree with that. So legally, absolutely self-defense. Despite the context, self-defense. Now, where I kind of I'm torn on it is, excuse me, drinking beer, some bubbles came up. The context of it that kind of bothers me is, like, yes, strictly legally, if he was in fear for his life, which in the video you could tell, like, the guy, like you said, the people with whatever their intentions are, rushed him. They were trying to grab him. He shot. Fine. But that's where I think the self-defense needs context, in my opinion. Legally right now, it really doesn't. But I think it needs context. An example I heard, this is when it first happened, somebody brought this example up. If you're at a bar, and of course I always bring up the bar analogy. If you're at a bar and on the way other side of the bar, a fight breaks out, a big fight. If you sit where you are, and you're like, oh shit, that's happening, and the fight makes its way to you, and you stand up and you're like, okay, you're in a corner, and somebody comes at you and you punch them, self-defense, absolutely. But okay, so on the other side of the bar, fight breaks out, you get up and you go to the other side of the bar, and you put your fist up and you start looking around, and someone swings at you, you hit them. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's self-defense, but the context is you put yourself into that brawl. You moved across the bar and put yourself into harm's way on purpose. So even though you're defending yourself, philosophically, is it self-defense because you did put yourself in the situation on purpose and put yourself in action? And that's with the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. I do think legally, yes, he defended himself. And that's why I think he's going to get off. Mm-hmm. But I think the question has to be asked, this kid traveled across state lines with a gun and put himself into a situation where he knew he'd probably have to use that gun. So the self-defense argument, yes, legally it's self-defense, but it does bother me that he put himself in that situation on purpose. And so the fact that he used his rifle and now he's saying he was just defending himself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Okay.
It does make sense. Because and the question I would ask myself is, well, what preceded that? Okay, so there must have been something before that they were singling him out. And let's go back even further. Would this be an issue if he didn't bring a rifle in the first place? He has the right to have a protest. I don't know what the concealed carry laws or the open carry laws are in the state of Wisconsin. I don't know what they are in his home state or if he's legal, but that's not what he's being charged with. He's being charged with first-degree reckless homicide, first-degree intentional homicide, and first-degree attempted intentional homicide. So that's an attempt.
Yeah, and that's where and I'll admit my ignorance. I always get there's first-degree, second-degree manslaughter. I feel like first-degree intentional homicide is a mistake to go after him for. Mm-hmm. I feel like if anything, you might get the manslaughter charge or a second degree, because even with everything I just said, I don't think he went there saying, I'm going to kill people. Mm-hmm. I do think he put himself in a bad situation by going there with a gun, but I don't think he intended, I'm going to kill someone.
Mm-hmm. Does it make sense? Malice and forethought. He brought that weapon there with malice and forethought, intending, well, for the first, he accidentally, I don't get this, first degree reckless homicide. First degree. So there was an intent and there was an oops.
I don't like that wording.
Homicide. Okay, so that makes more sense. But that if it's first degree, you came there with malice and forethought to kill someone. And then this third charge, first degree attempted intentional. So there was an attempt. You brought
because he did shoot. He shot someone.
Someone. You wounded someone with the intent to kill, but you only wounded someone. But you went there in malice and forethought to kill someone. All those, I think I agree with you. I think all those are going to be difficult to prove.
Because I know he went there, and like I said, there's so many angles to this. I'm going to contradict myself left and right. Mm-hmm. I'll admit it. But so he went there to apparently join up with one of these militia groups and defend businesses. And in my head, I'm like, cool. I think those militia guys are fucking out of their minds. But you're going there to defend businesses. Fine. And this is where we just don't know everything. We haven't been watching the trial. Why are you running in the street? If you're defending a business, you should be posted up on the roof or in the front door, holding your ground. Why are you running out in the street? That's one thing that always kind of bothered me. Fine, claim self-defense. You're there to protect businesses. Why are you running in the street? And I'm sure there's probably an explanation for that. I'm not trying to take a side, but isn't there more charges under a kid underage with a firearm and some other thing? I remember hearing about that. I'm not sure, or is it just strictly the homicide?
Lesser charges could include reckless homicide rather than intentional homicide, or second degree rather than first degree. Different charges have different requirements, which may fit better with the prosecution's legal case, legal experts said. So these might get downgraded just so the prosecution can get a conviction, which they're after. But there's a lot here, and keep in mind that some of the evidence if you're looking for an impartial jury, you don't want people who have seen that video. You're going to present
Yeah.
that case. So all of what we know might not necessarily be what's presented in front of the jurors.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's interesting on the conviction. But yeah, why was he running? It was okay in his mind to bring a gun and, a semi-automatic rifle. And for some reason, rather than the flight mechanism within these people, they could have run and they could have called people who have other guns, who have more guns,
Mhm.
who have vehicles, and let them know about it. Instead, they decided to take their law into their own hands and pursue this person. So
that's where, like, some sort of that too. 'Cause on one hand, I almost respect the idea of, like, because I think the guy who testified, the guy who survived the shot, said he thought it was an active shooter. And so, on one hand, I'm like, okay, these people thought it was an active shooter, and in their courage, we're trying to stop it.
mhm.
Same time, I'm gonna try to stay off the table. I'm realizing I'm wobbling my mic.
Yeah, you are.
But on the other hand, you're absolutely right. If they simply hadn't engaged, because up to that point, he had not fired.
Mhm.
To my knowledge, he only fired when he was engaged. If they had not engaged, nothing would have happened, and we wouldn't be talking about this.
Agreed.
So that argument is, like, should those people have charged him, engaged him, and tried to stop him, when in reality he hadn't even shot yet.
Mhm.
He was the dude with the gun. So yeah, no, it was a lot of questions, and that's where I think this is one of those examples of a lot of other examples that me and you can consume about and talk about, where it becomes very politicized and divisive when in reality it's
That's
much
exactly
more
what this
complex.
is about.
Yeah,
That's exactly what this is about. And I
and
don't know. I'm leaning toward the self-defense. This is going to be an issue of self-defense, and
mhm.
clearly, if somebody's coming after you, because don't forget, and this is in the article by NPR. Let's see, where was it? Don't forget that people were running at him, and he was hit with a Grosskreutz, the one who got injured, was himself armed with a loaded pistol. In his
Mhm.
testimony Monday, he acknowledged that his gun was pointed toward
Mhm.
Rittenhouse at the moment he was shot through and was not pointing it intentionally, and it did not intend to harm him. And he was also hit with a skateboard. Yes, both men ran after Rittenhouse as he was attempting to run toward police after shooting Rosenbaum. Multiple videos show Hubbard striking Rittenhouse with a skateboard. And Grosskreutz testified that he believed Hubbard was trying to harm Rittenhouse. There you go. To me, this is
Yeah.
cut and dry. So, with that in defense, I want to argue for the prosecution. So, how would I do that? So,
Well,
if I want, go ahead.
Well, no, and that's where, again, completely strictly legal, like,
Mhm.
just strictly legally on paper, it's obviously self-defense. But that's where, again, and I'm not taking this side particularly, but, like, the context, the bar example I gave, this kid did put himself. So if I'm sitting there, Eddie, and I keep prodding you, I keep prodding you, and I keep prodding you, and I keep prodding you, and I keep prodding you, I'm doing this on purpose. I keep prodding and prodding and prodding and prodding and prodding, and then you raise your fist to me and swing, and I shoot you, and I say self-defense. Yes, on paper, it's self-defense, but in context, I had been prodding you. And that's the only thing that bugs me is, like, yes, it was clearly a self-defense, black and white, on paper, self-defense. But when you take all these other things in context, I do feel like legally they don't give a fuck, but I feel like the other things in context should be taken into consideration. That this kid came across, like I said, the state lines, he armed himself, he was out in the street, knowing the situation he was in, because there were rioters, there was violence happening. So it's hard for me to, I'm not sure, defend him when he puts himself there. You understand what I'm saying?
It's
That's my only conflict.
I'm
Yeah,
getting you.
that's my conflict. That's my conflict in my head.
Well,
But yeah,
but then again, you talk about prodding and prodding and prodding. Keep in mind that you can put a uniform on, you can put a badge on. So when you talk about prodding, think of what was going on in Oregon for over 100 days. Every night there was prodding going on. How many people died there? Police showed tremendous restraint. They have to be there. And on the other side of that, how much prodding went on over 100 days and compared to the loss of life? There's some prodding here.
I'm not against that.
We could get into prodding, but
well, that's
just what I've read here.
Yeah.
This looks personally from my, non-legal background, this seems like he's going to get off. He's going to be absolved of these charges. But I do see what you're saying. What was he doing there in the first place? Okay, what's he doing there in the first place? Is all that irrelevant? That's my question compared to people coming at you.
No, but that's what I'm saying is that I'm not taking a side. Absolutely. And there's 100 examples of this. We don't have to get into it. What was the young woman who was shot in her apartment last year?
I know the incident. This is why we have internet.
Breonna Taylor?
Breonna Taylor, I believe so.
Is that it? I'm gonna let you look it up real first. I
am looking at it.
Yeah.
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor. So without going into the details, that situation, for instance, obviously it happened, it made headlines, and people took sides. I can't, because this is actually relevant, so I'm gonna get into it. Summed up. Cops got a no knock warrant. Kicked the door in. Dude in the dude's apartment thought someone was robbing him. Pulled his gun, shot at in his head the person breaking into his house. It was cops. Cops shot back, shot through the wall, killed Breonna Taylor in her bed. I can't blame the cop for shooting back. Right? I can't blame the cop for shooting back. He was simply doing his job. So that's where with back to Kyle Rittenhouse, I can't blame him for shooting. But that's where when it comes to Breonna Taylor, it's a whole another fucking set of crazy circumstances. But in that case, like, okay, so who should be held accountable? In the case of Breonna Taylor, I think we should talk about the people who got the faulty information on the house, because you can't blame the cop who's just following orders, going in there and then returning fire on someone. You can't blame the cop.
I wouldn't blame the homeowner for somebody breaking into your house either.
Exactly. That's my point. So it's a shit situation. Who should be held accountable? I know a lot of liberal-minded people got pissed off when these cops got off, but it's like, was it the cops' fault? Or should we now hold the higher-ups accountable who gave them faulty information, who sent them in on bad information? Should we hold them accountable? Going back to Kyle Rittenhouse, yes, he was clearly defending himself no matter which way you look at it. But there was loss of life that didn't need to be lost. Who should be held accountable? Now, you can make the argument, which I think is a fair argument, as we talked about, these people should not have charged him in the way they did. Just logically speaking, this man is armed with an AR. Don't run after him. But at the same time,
treat it like it's loaded.
Exactly.
Why wasn't there an effort to call the police? The police
I agree.
There. Why did you choose not? Is it because you're protesting against the police and now you need their help? Or, I mean,
there's that.
Yeah.
At the same time, arguing with myself, the kid did put himself in a situation. He, at that point, again, I don't know the whole context, and so if I'm wrong, call me wrong. Hey, audience, call me out. Why was this kid with the AR not posted up defending a business? Why was he running through the streets? If there's a reason, tell me. I'm open to it. But that's where I'm like, if you put yourself in that situation, you're provoking conflict by putting yourself in that situation.
Okay, he was running through the street. He was running in the street. He put himself there. He still has a weapon. You don't know if it's loaded. You should assume that it's loaded.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I'm not saying those people should have attacked him.
That's not the issue of those that got involved.
No,
and they took it upon themselves to wreck that.
I agree, and that's where I'm arguing with myself. Yes, those people should not have engaged him. But he did put, like I said, if there's go back to the bar analogy, if there's a brawl going on and I rip my shirt off, flex, and get in the middle of the brawl with my fist up, and someone swings on me and I punch them, should I not be? Is that self-defense? If I put myself in the middle of it, it's a weird comparison. And
it is a weird comparison. Well, if somebody, then it becomes if you're just in there, yes, you're in there, but if somebody swings at you, if somebody takes that first punch, therefore you are defending yourself. You're not being offensive.
But that's what I'm saying is like, yes, on
but
paper.
You didn't have to be in that position. You could have gone upstairs. You could have gone away. You could have gone in the bathroom. You could have hid behind the bar. But instead you chose to throw up your fists and enter into the situation where people are swinging.
Exactly, and that's where I argue with myself. Yes, it is on paper absolutely self-defense. You didn't throw the first punch, but you put yourself in a situation to where you knew someone was going to punch you.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my.
I don't know about that. If you're running down the street with a gun, do you think people really are going to come after you?
In that situation, like, dude, those, like, don't get me wrong, like, Black Lives Matter, I'm fine with, but some of those riots were fucking nuts, dude. Like, like people were like setting shit on fire. Like, it was nuts.
Absolutely. So they weren't in their right mind either.
No, and I completely agree. My point is, do you think in that climate, in that environment, you're going to pick up an AR as a white kid? Let's be honest, as a white kid, you're going to pick up an AR, hang out with militia guys, and run down the street, and you don't think anyone's going to fuck with you?
Whether they do or don't, the fact that you have a loaded weapon or you have a weapon, it doesn't matter the exigency. It doesn't matter the reason. The fact is that you're a potential threat. And this person wasn't treated like the threat that they should have been perceived as.
No, and I agree with that. Like I said, if I were there protesting or doing whatever, I would have not engaged him. Fuck that.
Agree.
And I don't think those people should have. And I think that he absolutely had the right to defend himself in that situation. Like I said, my issue is if someone puts themselves in a situation, this has been in movies left and right. Even we had a bouncer one time. Yeah, I'll share the story. It doesn't fucking matter. We had a bouncer one time. We had some guys who were creating some issues. This bouncer was in a fucking bad mood. And so, and you know, as a bouncer, sorry, keep it in the table. As a bouncer, you don't do anything physical until someone puts their hands on you.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. So this guy, like, the bouncer was kind of close to his face, saying stuff to him, and the guy kind of went like, dude, get out of my face. The bouncer, on purpose, moved his face forward so his hand touched it. Then the bouncer grabbed him, shoved him through the door, did all, like, kind of wrecked him a little bit. And I'm not proud of it, but, like, I looked at the camera later because I remember seeing in person, I remember seeing him hit his face like that. So I was like, whatever. Looking at the camera, it's clear the guy went like this, and the bouncer, as he moved his hand like that, pushed his head forward to meet his hand. So it's different, but kind of the same thing. So this guy put himself in a situation to where he was provoking conflict and then met the conflict. And it's a weird comparison. Just that's the only thing that bothers me. It's like, and it's been in movies and all this stuff, like, if you put yourself into a position to where you know you're going to have conflict, and then conflict happens, like, even, because he was he provoked it by being there.
Provocateur.
So, granted, it was self-defense, and he's going to get off, and I don't really have a problem with that. I just think going forward, there is an issue there of if you put yourself in the harm's way on purpose to be a part of a conflict, is now you're not going to be held accountable. That's, I guess, my issue.
Well, keep in mind he wasn't charged as a provocateur. He's charged with murder and attempted murder.
And I think that charge is inaccurate based on the information I know.
Well, if you want to convict him of something, but those are the big things. There was a loss of life.
Yeah,
and they're going to address that first.
Of course.
So yeah.
I think first-degree murder is,
with that bouncer analogy, it's like, yeah, I could see where that's coming. And it's like, yeah, how do you address that? Granted, when that goes before, a jury and any attorney, they're going to say, watch what happens. This is pretty cut and dry. He wasn't touched. He was provoking. So is the provocation, okay, so somebody was provoked. Is that the exigence for murder? What is the exigence for murder? That he was defending himself. regardless of whether he was there intentionally or not.
Sure.
That's my perspective. Yeah.
No, I get it. And like I said, it's one of those situations where it's much more complex than it's been politicized.
And there's our free discussion with NPR. This is what's in front of me with NPR, with Google, with the New York Times, with CNN. Keep in mind the jurors are sequestered. They're watching the Flintstones or they're watching Eternals or something like that. And they're not watching any news. They're only watching what the attorneys tell them. So, that's going to weigh heavily as well. But I do understand your struggle. I mean, what do you expect is going to happen if you walk through a riot and you're just running down there?
Yeah.
But then again, he's also running to police. But how do you know that?
And that's where it gets dicey. I will say, I didn't buy his crying act.
I didn't see that. I read about it, but yeah, I didn't see it.
I didn't buy it. And that's not me saying that he's guilty or innocent at all. But when I saw it, I was like, I don't buy it. I'm not saying that the kid doesn't have traumas. I'm not saying that he suffers from sort of regret or anything. So I don't think this is a bad kid. I think he put himself, and his parents allowed him to put himself in a bad situation, and now he's dealing with the consequences. I'm not saying he's a bad kid, but the crying act he put on, I didn't buy it. I think he was probably instructed on that.
It's insincere, but and you're one of the jurors. You can see insincerity, and theoretically you have 12 people sitting in there who can see the same thing that you did.
Yeah, I just don't think it was even necessary because it really is, especially with the name I forgot, the guy who got shot that survived, saying that he pointed a gun when he got shot.
Yeah,
it's pretty much like the case is done. Yeah. In my opinion, the case is it's black and white. Regardless of all my shit about context and why he was there, etc. At the end of the day, he was there. His life was threatened. He defended himself.
Somebody under oath testified that he was hit with a skateboard and he pointed a gun at him.
Yep. There's no arguing that. Yeah. It's not even. There's no political motive on that. It's black and white. This guy straight up said. I think he said his hands were in the air. He was not shot. He pointed the gun. He got shot. There's no. That's done.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I think we should. Me and you should do the Zoom on a lot of these things.
Armchair lawyers. Well, that's what you get a JD, a Juris Doctor, when you graduate law school. So, and that's a philosophy degree actually. So
I believe it.
And we're fake attorneys.
We're fake. There you go, fake philosophers. Because I think there's a lot of these that people don't really talk about. Like you said, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin. Even there's a lot of these where the thing happens, and instead of actually looking into it and breaking down what actually happened, it's instantly politicized.
Of course,
and you have to take a side, and it's stupid.
Expectation.
Yeah.
That's the expectation right now, and this is an evolution of political correctness. When I was in college, and this is to where it goes, but how far is it going to go? And it's kind of scary to know that if we don't look at facts, and this is on both sides of the fence, if we're not looking at facts, if we're not looking at science, if we're either looking at political or we're looking at kind of our narrow band of journalism, then what's next?
Yeah.
We have people who are suddenly doctors, and we have people who are suddenly lawyers.
But we made it clear at the beginning, we're not fucking experts.
Yeah.
You can watch this and you say, well, you don't know all the facts. Yeah, we said we don't. So
we're fake philosophers.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can see what's in front of us and kind of glean it. And if our audience is hopefully we have an audience watching, please comment, subscribe. And if we piss you off, we're not here to be provocative. If we piss you off, I'm not going to be sorry. It's a matter of an opinion, and you've got your opinion as well. So reach out to in comments and what have you. And we'll bring you on the show, if you talk and stuff like that. If you talk and stuff like that, I love saying that. If you have a reasonable opinion and it's not, stupid, you can disagree with us. Please do. I don't know where I'm going with it.
No. I got you. If you disagree with us or you want to, dispute us, fine. Bring facts. If you think we're wrong, cool. Bring an argument. Don't just say shit without any backing or logical explanation. Bring the heat. Bring an argument.
Mm-hmm.
Premise to follow or to get the conclusion, like all that shit. Because that's the thing. I don't like. Granted, a lot of what we talked about today, some of it was anecdotal, some of it was just our own logical reasoning. But I don't think any of it was. It came from a place of deception or like malice. Like we were just saying honestly what we observed and our concerns. So if you disagree with us, fine. Just bring forth the logic to it. Don't just
or the opposite. Come on with pure emotion, and it's like that's good footage too. It's like if you get all crazy, I wouldn't mind watching. I'll just let you go. It's But again, we have videos. This is more than a year old. I've cited my resources, which is right in front of me, NPR, and I'll post these. NPR, New York Times, and CNN. That's where I'm getting my information right now. So as we're discussing this, it's also being read and what have you. So we're an equal forum, and if you have a difference of opinion, and you want to slap us down, reach out in the comments. We'll reach back and
we'll bring it up too.
We'll bring you on, and we'll see where it goes from there.
This might be a new Eddie Mike segment of us analyzing the controversial event objectively.
That's awesome. And you know what? If you want to bring somebody who disagrees with you, like a friend, and you two like just sit across from the table and we'll watch you. And if you want to get into a fight, go ahead. I mean, as long as it's not our house, it's okay.
As long as he doesn't bring an AR in my house.
AR, I have to attack him. AR in the house of the commentator. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, just
He brings swords all he wants.
Bring swords. Yeah, we're ready for that.
Yep.
So it's been interesting. I'm going to include every single one of these articles in the chat, and they will be included. And we are super good to go.
Yep. So again, I'm repeating everything we already said. You agreed with us, disagreed with us, please let us know. This is one of those topics that we actually do want a lot of input on. Because the more we discuss, the more we move forward. If that makes sense.
And we're like only, we're fake in that we don't know everything, and we don't purport to know everything. Fake people generally don't, but we want to get real answers. And if there's a difference of opinion, please let us know where we're wrong and smack us down. We're waiting on you.
We'll discuss it too. So thank you again for joining us, and then we'll see you next time.
See you next time.